Three generations, same legendary name. But after 200,000 miles, the TJ, JK, and JL Wrangler become three very different machines. One battles expensive engine and electrical failures. Another has been buried in recalls. And one is still running with an engine famous for refusing to die. We compared all three, and the winner isn't even close. Third place is the JK Wrangler. The JK went on sale in 2007, and Jeep sold over 1 million of them before production ended in 2018. On paper, it should have been the sweet spot. 4 doors for the first time in Wrangler history, better ride quality, more power on deck. But past 200,000 miles, the JK is where dreams quietly go to die. Start with the engine, because the JK got 2 of them, and both had serious problems. From 2007 through 2011, every single JK came with a 3.8-liter V6. Chrysler literally pulled that engine out of a minivan. It made just over 200 horsepower, drank fuel like it was on fire, and burned oil like a 2-stroke lawnmower. Some owners were reporting a full quart of oil disappearing every 1,000 miles. It turned out Chrysler installed the oil control rings upside down on early engines built at their Mexico plant, and the factory 5 weight 20 oil made the leak even worse. Some JK owners were adding 2 full quarts between oil changes. On long road trips, people had to carry oil bottles in the back like it was extra gasoline. Jeep never issued a formal recall on the oil consumption. There was never a class action settlement over it either, which means every 3.8-liter JK on the used market today either still burns oil or has already had the whole engine touched. There is no in-between. Then Jeep tried to fix it and somehow made things worse. In 2012, they switched the JK to the 3.6-liter Pentastar V6. 285 horsepower, better fuel economy, on paper, a giant upgrade. However, the Pentastar had a factory defect that Chrysler's own head of quality, Doug Betts, admitted to Automotive News back in June of 2014. The left cylinder head cracks. About 7,500 engines were built with the flaw. When it fails, you get a misfire on cylinder 2, a persistent ticking sound under the hood, and in the worst cases, the valve drops and punches a hole clean through the piston. Chrysler quietly extended the warranty. It went from 100,000 miles up to 150,000 miles, and they redesigned the head. However, if yours cracks at 160,000, that's a $4,000 bill sitting in your lap. But the engine is not even the worst part of owning a high-mileage JK, because the real killer is a little black box tucked under the hood called the TIPM. That stands for Totally Integrated Power Module. It runs every electrical system in the truck, and when it fails, your Jeep starts honking its own horn at 3 in the morning. The wipers turn on by themselves in the middle of a sunny day, the fuel pump quits at highway speed, and sometimes the whole truck just refuses to start. A federal class action lawsuit alleges Chrysler knew the TIPM was defective from 2007 through 2014. They hid it from customers the whole time. Water leaks into the footwell of a JK, drips right into the module, and fries it. A replacement runs over $1,000 for parts and labor. However, we still have not talked about the death wobble, which is where the JK really earned its ugly reputation. Owners filed a federal lawsuit in Michigan in June of 2019 just about the wobble alone. Imagine hitting a small bump at 70 miles per hour. Then your entire steering wheel starts violently shaking side to side. It gets so bad you cannot even keep your hands on it. The whole thing happens because the JK uses a solid live front axle. When the track bar, ball joints, and tie rods start wearing at the same time, they all start fighting each other on every single bump. Some owners have to pull over and come to a complete stop just to make the shaking stop. And Jeep denied for years that the wobble was even a defect. Even the frame rusts. Not as badly as a TJ, but the JK's rear frame section behind the gas tank and around the shackle mounts is thinner than it should be. Any Northeast truck that got salted every winter will show Swiss cheese underneath by 200,000 miles. Then the cracked exhaust manifolds start showing up. The heater cores start flooding the passenger footwell with hot coolant. O2 sensors fail in pairs, and crank position sensors die and leave you stranded on the side of the highway. You've got a truck that eats money at every single service interval. So on paper, the JK looks great. 4 doors, more power, modern features, a factory Rubicon package with real lockers. However, at 200,000 miles, you're staring at three separate problems. The cylinder head is busted. That electrical brain is actively trying to kill you, and the steering system shakes itself apart on the highway. Consumer Reports named the JK Wrangler the worst overall score in their entire 2017 roundup, which brings us to the newer Jeep that somehow has even more recalls than the JK. Quick pause. If you want your Jeep to be one of the ones that actually makes it to 200,000, 300,000, or even 500,000 miles, check out the 500,000-mile Jeep Blueprint. It covers the maintenance, fluids, common failures, and mistakes that can cut a Jeep's life short. The link is in the description below. Second place is the JL Wrangler. The JL is the newest Wrangler generation. Launched for 2018, and Jeep is still building them today. It was supposed to be the smartest, safest, most refined Wrangler ever built. J.D. Power gave it a score of 86 out of 100, which is genuinely good for a Jeep. However, the JL has a very specific problem no other Wrangler in history has ever had. The recalls just will not stop coming. We're going to walk through them because a lot of owners have no clue how many there have been. The 2018 and 19 JLs got recalled for improperly welded frame brackets. Around 700 trucks had welds so bad the front track bar could literally separate from the frame while driving down the highway. Then came the clutch fires. In 2023, Jeep recalled over 69,000 manual transmission Wranglers and Gladiators. The clutch pressure plate could overheat, crack, and shoot burning debris up into the underside of the truck. That same year, 35,000 more got recalled. An unnecessary stud poking out of the frame could puncture the fuel tank during a crash. Then, in 2024, 32,000 more went back to the dealer because the entire instrument cluster could just go blank while you were driving. And that is not even the full list. There have been over 20 separate JL recall campaigns since 2018. Everything from airbag control units to steering columns to fuel tank straps to rear axle heat shields has been called back. Even the tailgate itself got recalled. It could fall right off the truck on rough terrain. Consumer Reports lists the 2022 JL as having been recalled 16 separate times, and they rate the most recent model years as less reliable than other Jeep vehicles from the same year. But the biggest one of all just happened this year. In June of 2026, Jeep recalled 1,076,999 vehicles in a single campaign. 787,000 of them were Wranglers. The power steering pump wiring could overheat and start a fire, even while the truck was parked cold in a driveway. NHTSA confirmed 51 actual fires and 1 injury. Jeep publicly told brand new JL owners to park their trucks away from their houses until the fix was in. However, the recalls are still not the worst part of the JL story, because the death wobble followed this generation too. Jeep publicly blamed worn parts and lift kits, but a nationwide class action settlement got final approval on June 29th of 2023. That covered 1.1 million JL owners who bought or leased from 2018 through 2020. Jeep had to extend the steering damper warranty. It went to 8 years or 90,000 miles, with all repairs covered. So even after a completely redesigned front end from the JK, the wobble followed the truck straight into the modern era. There is real good news buried in the JL story, though. The 2019 through 2023 JLs running the 3.6-liter Pentastar V6 are genuinely the smoothest, most refined Wrangler ever built. However, we just do not know if it survives 200,000 miles yet. The JL is simply too young. There is no proven fleet of high-mileage examples on the road today. Jeep also sells a plug-in hybrid version called the 4xe that already got pulled from the US market for 2025, and a diesel option that quietly disappeared after 2023. That is a lot of complicated moving parts, and this is a truck that has not been alive long enough to prove any of them last a decade. Which leaves us with one Jeep that has 0 cylinder heads to crack, 0 electrical modules to burn out, and one legendary engine that just refuses to die. And the winner is the TJ Wrangler. The TJ was built from 1997 through 2006. 603,303 total units left the factory over that whole run. It's the last Wrangler ever built with the 4.0-liter inline-six engine, and that one single detail is why it wins everything today. Because the 4.0-liter is not a normal motor. The block is cast iron, same for the head, and it uses a timing chain instead of a rubber belt, which means nothing snaps at 100,000 miles and destroys the whole motor. It makes 190 horsepower. That sounds weak on paper until you learn it has a flat torque curve that pulls hard from idle. Jeep mechanics have been saying the same thing about the 4.0 for 20 years. It will run while you are replacing your third transmission. Jeep's own highest documented mileage vehicle uses this same engine family, a 1988 Cherokee sitting at 612,000 miles. That engine actually started life as an AMC design from the 1980s. Chrysler kept building it for almost 20 years after they bought the whole company in 1987. However, the TJ is not perfect either, because the frame rusts. Specifically, the rear section right behind the gas tank, the rear shackle mounts, and the front lower control arm mounts. Live in Michigan or Ohio and never wash the frame underneath. It will get eaten alive by 200,000 miles. A whole cottage industry now sells weld-in repair plates just for these TJ frames. However, if you can find one that lived its whole life in Arizona or New Mexico, the frame will outlast you. But there is also one engine gotcha nobody talks about. 2000 and 2001 TJs got a cylinder head with the casting number 0331 stamped on top, and the metal between cylinders 3 and 4 was thin enough that it can crack open under heat. Jeep never issued a recall for it. They just quietly switched to a thicker casting for 2002. So if you are shopping a 2000 or 2001, pop the coolant cap and check for oil floating on top, and check the head casting number stamped up there. If it is the 0331 and it is still going strong today, it probably always will. However, here is where the TJ story gets truly ridiculous. Because the TJ is now appreciating in value like a classic car. Hagerty tracks classic car auction values across America, and their data shows 1997 through 1999 TJs are up 168% over the last 5 years alone. The Wrangler as a whole segment is up 45%. Rubicon trims from 2003 through 2006, the ones with factory front and rear lockers plus Dana 44 axles at both ends, are the ones going up in value fastest. Which means the TJ is the only Wrangler on planet Earth where you can drive it, put another 200,000 miles on the clock, and sell it for more than you paid. And here is what nobody tells you about buying a used TJ. The 2003 through 2006 models got the newer 42 RLE automatic transmission and the NSG 376 speed manual, both of which are considered the good units. Skip the older 32 RH automatic if you can. It came in the 2000 and earlier models. Every Rubicon from 2003 onward brought in real Dana 44 axles at both ends. It has factory air lockers and a 4-to-1 low-range case. Both together will crawl over anything a JL can crawl today for 1/3 the price. But the real reason it wins is even simpler than the engine or the money. The TJ is fixable in a driveway with basic tools. Everything on it is a bolt-on part you can buy from your local parts store on a Sunday morning. The wiring is old school and mapped in the factory manual. There is no TIPM sitting under the hood. You will not find a touchscreen. Nothing under there hides an 8-speed automatic waiting to grenade at 180,000 miles. When something on a TJ breaks, you can fix it that same afternoon with a socket set and a jack. A JK breaks, and you are begging a dealer for a diagnostic slot. When a JL breaks, you are waiting for the next recall bulletin to drop. But a TJ breaks, and you are back on the road by Sunday night. That is why the TJ wins at 200,000 miles. And that is why it keeps on winning at 300,000. So here's the verdict. The TJ takes the crown. Second place goes to the JL. Avoid the JK past 150,000 miles. If this helped you make the call, drop a comment below with which Wrangler you own or wish you owned. And if you want to keep your Jeep running for as long as possible, subscribe for more Jeep breakdowns, click the video on your screen, and I'll see you in the next one.